Welcome to the OmniTalk Fast Five, sponsored by Takeoff and the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The OmniTalk Fast Five is the funniest, fastest, and most fervently insightful breakdown of all the week's top retail news, and also the podcast with the best alliteration. It pains me to say this, but Chris is forcing me to. Some might even call this a stroke of genius.
Yes, you did it. Yes.
It's September 9th, 2021. I am your host, Ann Mazinga, obviously joined by Chris, who is still back, still on week three.
Back. 3 weeks of
He's
kicking
made
in.
it through Strokeland. What is the cutoff for you, by the way? Like, how much more time do you have before you're like in the stroke clear? Are we there yet?
No, I don't think you're actually ever in the stroke clear, especially when you've had
fair. Okay.
When it's undiagnosed, you don't know. And so like, it's just this crazy thing, but hopefully the prognosis is good because I'm relatively young, relatively in good health, and hopefully smooth sailing, but just got to keep an eye on things and hopefully everything will be all right. But I don't know if you're ever in the clear with that kind of thing, but hey, it's fun.
But we're going to travel
on the edge.
We're going to travel the grocery shop
in
2 weeks anyway. And we're going to just like do it up, Chris.
Hell hath no fury, like a retail pundit at grocery shop.
Yeah, I think like Rihanna says, live your life, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it, Ann.
I don't know about the listeners and viewers, Chris, but this week has been like 3 weeks slammed into 4 days.
It really has. You? Yeah, no, it has. Cause I think we're gearing up for grocery shop. You know, I think we've got some huge sponsors supporting our efforts there. Untying Knots is one of them, as well as Cleveron, a company we've talked a lot about in recent past. Pretty excited to have them on board. And we've got some great podcasts lined up for you guys too. I'm not going to tell you who they are yet. I'm going to tease it a little bit. I'm going to have you wait for it. Whet the appetites. Yep. But we're going to have 2 podcasts going out, hopefully on Monday and Tuesday of that week. Again, all sponsored by Cleveron and Untie Knots. And so we're pumped. I'm pumped to get back at it, Ann.
I know.
I have no idea what the show's going to be like. I have no idea how many people are going to be there. I don't know what it's going to be like to be in a mask and like socially distant from people at a trade show talking technology. And you're on stage twice, right? What are you doing there?
We have 2 sessions, one on Sunday that I'm going to be doing this like rapid fire question and answer with some other experts in the grocery industry about in-store technology.
Ooh.
And
it's
then
like a game show, right? It's supposed to be like a game show setup.
A game show. This is the first time. So, we're going to
Truth or dare, and Mazinga. Check out free retail. Go.
Oh my God. Always dare. And then on Wednesday, we're doing Joe Laszlo and Ken from Coresight and I are going to be doing like a recap of, what we heard at the show, all to be decided, probably Tuesday night over cocktails. Like, what are we going to talk about? What do we love about
it? Right, that's how you guys are doing it, right? You're like getting together for dinner and like you're going to talk about the show. You actually get together and talk about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we are. And then audience members will actually be able to like come up and ask questions and give feedback during the event. So if you're there on Wednesday still, which man, I hope you're taking an extended opportunity to take a vacation in Vegas of all places.
Yeah, come check her out.
Come check it out.
But we'll actually recap. We can recap that in our podcast that week too. It'll be awesome.
Yes.
So if you can't make grocery shop, we'll be sure to give you guys the highlights after the show based on what Ann presents on stage on Wednesday. So that'll be awesome.
Yep, it'll be great. But Chris, let's get to this week's headlines.
You want to get to the headlines?
Enough discussion.
I do too. There's a big headline this week.
There are. It took a little while.
It did. Yeah, this week was slow.
They had to wear off their beef Wellington hangover, which we had over the weekend. They had to get going before we got some stories here.
Yeah, actually,
we got some good ones.
Just to digress, because Ann brought it up, but I had Ann and her husband over for beef Wellington this weekend, and I'm just curious of the beef Wellington, the cream spinach, and the mashed potatoes. What was the best part of that dinner for you?
The wine.
The wine. All right, good call.
No, I'm kidding. Right. The beef Wellington by far.
That's what my wife
Chris
made, so.
And Mrs. OmniTalk, man, they can make a mean beef Wellington. Okay, we're going to talk today in the Fast Five about Kroger's planned expansion into Southwest Florida, Walmart's partnership with Instacart to deliver groceries into New York City, Hy-Vee's move into a fitness equipment space.
Yeah.
And the retirement of Target CIO Mike McNamara. But first, we're going to take off for the second week in a row with more big news out of Amazon. So yes, Amazon broke the internet this week, talking about how they are bringing their cashierless tech into 2 new Whole Foods stores. So according to CNBC, Amazon is going to be launching this technology in stores that are scheduled to open next year. Both stores, one in Grover Park, Washington, D.C., and the other in Sherman Oaks, California. Chris, we this kicked us off for sure this week. What are your thoughts about this?
I think it's huge news.
Yeah.
We've been all over computer vision since the get-go, really. Pun intended. Get it? Get-go? Actually in more ways than one. But yeah, we've been all over it. And I think this is huge news. I think for me, it heralds a couple of things. One is it says that Amazon has this technology ready for full-scale grocery, because they've talked about doing it in Amazon Fresh. They're now saying they're going to do it in Whole Foods, which is a different operation. So they're not doing it across 2 operations at full scale, or at least they're announcing it. That's pretty cool. The other important thing about this, and it's been talked about on social media a lot, but I think I will give credit to Celia Van Wickel, who, if you don't follow her, she's like the best. Honestly, she's like my best follow on LinkedIn right now. She comes
high praise.
She comes solid with the insights every week.
Yes.
But she brought up a point which others have brought up too, but I thought she did in a very articulate way, which is, it's another new store for the technology, right? Amazon's only deploying these in new stores, both in Amazon Go, Amazon Fresh, and Whole Foods. They have yet to retrofit an existing grocery store, which is the big outstanding question for most grocers on how to think about this technology. So the big question that remains for me, the second question is, who is the next grocer, and also not IE, I don't know why I said that, but who is the next technology solutions provider for that grocer that gets solidly into the number 2 position here by way of retrofitting stores? And, for my money, based on everything I'm hearing in the marketplace, I've got to give my money to Trigo and Tesco on that, because they're doing some really cool things. But, the space is very crowded. There's a lot of companies doing stuff, but, there's a lot to see what's going to, in terms of what's going to play out here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Celia and I are on this exact same wavelength. I hadn't seen her post, but I think that is the key differentiator. These are all new stores. But what I think I would add on to that at the end is that as we're seeing this expansion of Amazon Fresh, I mean, yes, they only have 26 stores right now that are planned. That they've released, but we know we have 4 alone in just the Twin Cities market. And so my assumption would be that now, like you said, that Amazon can go and roll this out in a full scale grocery store, that once this expansion of Fresh happens, now grocers, you need to be prepared that those are not only going to be regular grocery stores you're competing with, but fully autonomous stores that are just going to continue to explode. And we don't even know just how big that's going to be yet.
Yeah. And there's one other point I would bring up here quickly too on this topic, because I think it's important. There's a lot of competitors in the space, and there's a company I find that had a very cool announcement this week with Carrefour over in, I think it was in Dubai, where they have a fully autonomous store. But not all of these experiments are created equal, right? That store, it's 1,000 square feet. It has no windows. So there's all kinds of things that make that easier. So I think, as we talked about with NVIDIA back at their webinar, over the next 6 months, you're going to see a flood of activity. But keep in mind the size and the dynamics of the operation in terms of where this technology is going into to make your determinations on where you think it's going to go and who it's going to go there with.
Exactly. Keep your rubric up. What are all the things that you got to be checking off? Like windows, size, is it a hybrid? Is it solely autonomous?
Brand new,
all these things, they're not created equal. Great point, Chris.
All right. Well, let's go on to headline number 2. And headline number 2 is that Kroger has plans to further expand into Southwest Florida without stores. That last point being very important. Coming on the heels of its push into Tampa and Jacksonville, Kroger now says it plans to build one of its quote unquote spoke facilities. I like that. Kroger's getting spoke.
Yeah.
In Groveland Park to go after the southwest part of the state. The company believes it will also bring as many as 180 jobs to the area, again, with no physical footprint. Did I mention it's no stores in?
Yeah, you did. You mentioned that.
All right. And how bullish are you on this announcement?
I think that this is a phenomenal experiment. I think it's really cool to test. I have so many questions about how they're going to reallocate the budget to make this experiment work. For me, this is full scale R&D. This is an R&D effort. This is not a scalable effort yet. I think they're still learning here because I feel like there's going to be a lot of push to put marketing materials out there to make people aware of this service. When you have, Floridians, especially I think 9% of the population is 65 and above, who I think are very, committed to the
That's
going in store.
Yeah.
And so I think that this push to try to get people, it will catch on eventually, but I think it's something that, I'm going to be watching carefully, like how the business model shakes out. If they need to like do, some part of the store is pick up for groceries, or like if they are, what the actual like retail footprint looks like for them. But
that's just, you brought up a point I hadn't thought about before, which is the age demographics of Florida, which, in theory would be less inclined to adopt new ways of shopping for grocery, let's say, specifically online, right? Yes. I mean, I think we can all agree to that.
And I mean, my parents live in this part of Southwest Florida. Yeah. So a little bit of this is like my own experience playing into this.
But see, I'm a little bullish on this though, Ann, because I'm going to take a little bit different stance on you, because I actually think this is a stage 2 experiment. They've already done it up north in Tampa and Jacksonville. So now they're bringing it south. So they've got some lessons learned. The other thing here is this is for all intents and purposes based on the Ocado technology from what we can read.
Yeah.
And they have I think at this point, hopefully, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but Kroger and Ocado together have a good understanding of the dynamics that need to be surrounding the environment where they're building these spoke centers. I mean, the geographic density, the number of shoppers, the proclivity that they have for this type of shopping, et cetera. So my hunch is they have that pretty ironed out. And so if you find the right areas for that, then to me, it just comes down to acquiring the customer. And that to me is the biggest thing, because certain grocers are so entrenched in Florida, like Publix, that could be a hard thing to do, which is why Kroger's never broken in the market to begin with. But I think it's a good first stage, because it doesn't mean you couldn't build stores there. You couldn't have warehouses acting as pickup centers too. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of think they've got something here. And I think actually this could be, if we look back, I'm going to make a prediction here.
Oh man.
This could be one of the most important events over the next 10 years. I'm serious. Like, this could really change fundamentally how people think about going to market.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I do think that there will be a lot that's learned, and a lot of other grocers paying close attention to how this gets deployed and what the successes and failures are from Kroger doing this. And yes, they've been with Ocado for how many years now? I mean, they've got this process ironed out. I wonder, again, in this part of Southwest Florida, what the logistics of, I've made that drive in the many stoplights.
Do they really have it ironed out? Yeah.
Is it going to be efficient? How are they going to get, to that same level?
It's a great question.
All right. So we're keeping in the same vein here, talking about grocery delivery. Walmart is going to offer grocery deliveries in parts of New York City. So according to the Wall Street Journal, this past Tuesday, Walmart groceries are available for delivery now in parts of Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx through Instacart. Walmart has no physical stores in New York City, and Instacart shoppers will buy groceries at Walmart stores outside the city limits, then deliver those to nearby homes. However, not in the island of Manhattan. Right. Now, Chris, I think that the reporting is still a little bit conflicting about, like, are the Instacart shoppers for sure going in there and picking? There was one article that said that Walmart is going to be picking, and that the Instacart shoppers are just going to be picking up. Like, there's a lot of logistics here that, again, drawing from your first point, like that makes a difference when you're comparing these services. How that's all being done makes difference. Not clear still on whether people are ordering from like Walmart or ordering from Instacart. But what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of it, I think this story is laughable. I mean, Walmart just continues to be on this trend of laughable headlines. They just need to get over themselves and get off the PR train for a little bit again, like they were like a few years ago doing this, and it was not good then, and it's not good now, in my opinion. But here's the thing, like, first, let's look at the irony of this. Isn't this why Walmart bought Jet.com for $3 billion back in whatever year it was to give them access to the New York market? That didn't work. So now we're going to sign up with Instacart. And we just talked about a really cool story. So why isn't the approach more evolved? That is my big question.
Sure, that's a fair point.
You already had this experiment fail with Jet, where Mark Lowry is now sunbathing in his city of the future of Toloso, talking about mission-driven cultures, like gag me with a spoon. But like, why isn't this more evolved? Like Walmart, by the way, let's think back. You announced that you're going to have 25 micro fulfillment centers up and running by at some point this year. Where the hell are any of those? Why aren't you publicly talking about those? Because that seems like something you should be talking about. And then why isn't that part of the equation here? Similar to like what Kroger's doing down in Florida. Why aren't you having those operate and pick and pack for you and figuring out the delivery possibly even on your own to make this happen, versus from what it sounds like, all intents and purposes, in the Wall Street Journal article, which is a pretty reputable news organization, saying that basically it looks like customers are going to have to go through the Instacart portal to get their Walmart purchases. So and then Walmart, you're giving your control. If that's the case, you're giving the control of that experience through Instacart. This doesn't make any sense long term. It's like it's at most a stopgap. Sorry, I'm done.
No, I
rant
think
over.
I can understand that. I think that especially in New York's market, where those grocery delivery players, they've been around the longest. I mean, they've been doing Fresh Direct. Like, how long have they been doing grocery delivery in New York City and the surrounding boroughs? I feel like, this is not the move I'd be making if I were Walmart. Again, like the Kroger story, they're going to have the same issue of awareness. And why am I going to pick Walmart over any other grocery retailer that I already have an established relationship with? The other thing that I wonder is, why isn't Walmart focusing more efforts in these markets on looking at getting into smaller format or city stores? Because I think that, we've seen this happen with Target in with their Harlem store and exploring more locations. Like, to me, that makes more sense as a break into this market than it does to start to waste money on an experiment like this, giving all your data to Instacart on your customers. Like, why aren't you pushing, converting that giant Walmart box into a small format store that could work and get you like first party data on your customers? Yeah.
I mean, that's your points about Fresh Direct are awesome. I mean, if it is happening through Instacart, like how are you Walmart going to break through that in the sea of New York shopping?
I don't know.
This doesn't make any sense.
We got to move on.
Well,
I don't know.
In another story that makes no sense to me personally, I'm curious to see what you think on this, because you're much more the fitness aficionado than I am. Although you'd never know that to look at me. Hy-Vee plans to open fitness gear shops within its stores. So according to Supermarket News, next week, Hy-Vee plans to debut a fitness equipment store within a store concept under a new partnership with Johnson Fitness and Wellness, which I gotta be honest, I've never heard of Johnson Fitness and Wellness.
I'm in the buying of fitness equipment, and I'm not familiar with Johnson Fitness and Wellness.
What fitness equipment do you have? Well, I have the Johnson equipment, Ed. Which one do you have? The first shop in shop will be Hy-Vee's new 93,000 square foot Grimes, Iowa store, and several more they've already said are scheduled to roll out by the conclusion of the year. And these aren't just any fitness shops. These are fitness and wellness boutiques where one can try out gear, including treadmills, elliptical machines, exercise bikes, and the always popular more. But here's the best part, Ann. What? The shop in shops are also, I'm going to whisper this because it's really important, rumored to be truly omni-channel, and that purchases can be made from kiosks and the scanning of QR codes. And are you going to be shopping for your next treadmill down in Grimes, Iowa at Hy-Vee?
No, I am so disappointed. Hy-Vee.
No offense to Hy-Vee. I'm from Iowa, by the way.
I love Hy-Vee.
I do too.
I love it. And this is so, I just don't understand it. It's like the Nordstrom blood and stool sample kit that they just put out this week. Like, you guys, what is going on? You're some of my favorite retailers. Like, what? Explain it to me.
That's such a good point. So, you almost made me lose my coffee.
I'm sorry. But here's the deal. They also announced this week that they're putting like eye care centers, like eye care try-ons in Hy-Vees this week.
Okay.
And that
I can get on board with that. Yeah, I can get on board with that.
The DSW thing, that makes sense. Like,
maybe not the execution of it, but it makes sense. Yeah.
The concept. Okay. But like, the idea that Hy-Vee is trying to move into this more of a one-stop shop, like a Target or a Walmart, that makes sense. But be strategic about what you're putting in there. Walmart and Target would never put this thing in there. Peloton can't even get people to come into their treadmill and bike try-ons right now. You're not going to get a no-name equipment company that's taking up valuable space on your floor pad, that especially a grocery store, like you've got kids and food and stuff like all in the same place. It just seems like a total nightmare to me. I cannot believe that this is happening.
So Ann, what are you trying to say? You don't like this?
No, I don't. And I'm sad about it.
I'm with you too. I mean, you can probably tell in my reading of it, but like, I just don't get it. And this trend of shop in shops, we talked about it with toys and Macy's last week. Just because you can put more product categories in your store doesn't mean that you should.
Yes.
Like it has to blend in with the overall experience of why you're coming to that store and that place to begin with. And that has to work within your business model. Because the point is exactly right. And having worked at Target, I know this for a fact. Like selling fitness equipment is really freaking challenging. It's a different selling process, different level of selling than what you're typically going to find from your average grocery store employee. They also break down. So are you going to who starts taking the returns for you, Hy-Vee, on this equipment and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It's not a very profitable business to begin with. And so like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And this shop and shop thing as the panacea for all retail has got to go away. You know what I'd actually love to see them do from the Hy-Vee stores I've been is expand into beauty.
Yeah.
I think they could do something in beauty that's much cooler than what they have now.
Yeah, for sure.
When I was just in one in Davenport, Iowa, we've got one, where is it, in Eagan here. I think that would be a much better place, especially with all the partnerships that are happening in and around beauty right now. But anyway, that's my take.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris. I think we're just going to have to Hy-Vee people. If you're listening, tell us what we've missed, because.
And by the way, this is the first time I've ever said anything negative about Hy-Vee. I've always been positive about Hy-Vee on this show. This just doesn't make sense to me.
I know. All right. Well, we're going to go into our last headline. Target CIO Mike McNamara is going to retire next year. Why, Chris? Because he wants to enjoy more Minnesota summers.
Yeah, can you believe he said that? Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, I mean, I can. It's the best part of the year here. Like, whatever.
Okay. I guess you're working too hard, Mike.
Yes. So Mike McNamara, who has led the retailer's IT organization since 2015, plans to retire in 2022, according to an SEC filing submitted last week. According to a company blog post that Target put out, the technology team and platform are in brilliant shape, according to Mike McNamara, and no decisions have been made yet on who will succeed him in a role. They're looking internally and externally.
Yes.
Chris, I know you have some thoughts on this.
Oh, Jesus. We haven't had that on the spot question
yet.
We
have not had the on the spot question yet.
God, Don.
So we're going to go into this first. So A&M Consumer Retail Group, they get these types of questions. They help their clients stay on the right side of disruption by helping them with things exactly like what I'm about to ask you.
God.
Oh, okay.
Jesus. All right. This is a heady one, I bet.
Target is going to need to rethink the role of CIO. It's also something that a lot of other retailers are grappling with right now. But as the importance of technology starts to permeate every function, from marketing to merchandising to store operations, supply chain, how do you think retailers should go about thinking about what is centralized IT and what is decentralized in the functions of this new CIO role?
Oh my God. All right. How much time do we have? It's a 30-minute podcast.
Take a breath.
Yeah. Wow. That's a tough question. Okay. Here's what I'll say, generally speaking. I wrote a lot about this when I was first writing, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. But the biggest thing for me is a brand is the biggest thing that makes retailers successful or not is thinking about their brand as an omni-channel product.
With a capital P.
With a capital P, right? That, the product management functions doesn't sit in a silo of e-commerce, doesn't sit in a silo of stores. And, really at the end of the day, the buck stops with having a CEO being able to fill that seat, honestly, that chair. But in the event that you can't, I think there's ways to augment it. I think the CIO role, regardless of the announcement, stays incredibly important within that seat. But what I would say is what I think is really the smart move is to elevate the chief product officer for the organization.
Yeah.
Like Sam's Club to me is a great example. Like, it was Eddie Garcia at one time. He's now moved on, but his role, when we talked to him, was very expansive. He had control over the e-commerce site. He had control over the products being developed for the products being developed for the stores in terms of how they operate those stores, the fulfillment capabilities, all of it. So he had the full view of the customer experience. And so I think, to me, in the future of an organization, that role alongside the CEO are probably the two most important, and they have to work hand in hand to make this go. And so my point with the retirement of Mike McNamara is this is a pretty big announcement. Mike was the perfect guy. He was hard ass, kind of, was very direct.
Yeah.
Tesco trained. I guess they're like that too. And he came in at a time where, Cornell's strategy was, we're just going to double down on the fact that everyone else is going to slough off and we're going to have market share to pick up. So, if you got a guy in there that knew what he was doing from, the CIO chair perspective, that worked really well. And it was the perfect call. And he was the perfect guy. The question I have, though, is who will they replace him with? Are they going to go back to what got Target in trouble to begin with, which was putting somebody in that seat that didn't have the credibility, which, if you look at their moves lately, you could argue that is happening when you look at grocery, when you look at marketing and who they've put into those seats. So now this is a big hire. I hope he still, quite honestly, either goes with somebody internally that has a ton of experience, that they don't put somebody on a stretch assignment in this job, which they've done in the past,
right?
Or they go outside to find somebody that really, has the chops to continue Mike's progress. And hopefully Mike's pretty connected on what, he wants to do.
Well, I also think this is interesting. Your points bring up like, where does this leave Brian Cornell's position too? Because my guess is that, after a few more Aprils, he may not be there either.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. He's getting in his 60s, I think. Right.
Right. Or just moving on to his next role. Right. And so like, what are the,
or the suburbs of Minneapolis, Ann?
Yeah, they're so great. I don't even think he lives here. Right.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I have no idea.
But, thinking about who's going to take over those roles. And for me, this is an especially important hire when you look again at story number 1 with what Amazon's doing and how they're going to start rolling into the department store space, the grocery space, and Target is lagging when it comes to digital and what they're testing in store. And they're going to have to beef that up to be a competitive omnichannel retailer. The things that they've been so successful at, and I would argue also lucky to have over the course of this last couple of years, those are going to hang on for a while. But once Amazon starts to push into more and more locations, the Whole Foods get to be better equipped with, technology, and the footprint starts to expand. Target, you're going to have to be prepared, and it starts now.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I wrote this for a piece for MN Tech Magazine recently. I don't know that I'm as down on Target as you are in that regard. I think they've been criminally slow on any experimentation with computer vision. Same with Walmart. Yes, 100%. But I think both those companies have a much longer run rate than, say, like the regional grocers that are going to, fall to the wayside much faster than that because of just the one-stop shop nature, all the omnichannel capabilities they've built up. But I think it's a point, whereas, and that's why I alluded to what I said, which is Mike was good for that strategy. Whoever you bring in, though, has to kind of take it to the next level and get that truly kind of innovative technology angle to things.
Yeah.
I think Mike's been kind of the prove out what works and go versus like, I think you want a little bit of that, but I think also now you're in the facing, like you need somebody that can kind of see the step change too.
Yeah. Great point. Chris, that closes us up.
Wow. One of our faster shows.
I know. It's fun.
I love it.
Are you ready for a lightning round?
Of course I am.
Okay. First question.
My middle name is Lightning.
It's definitely not. Kanye announced this week that he's expanding beyond apparel and footwear and into housewares and home furnishings. As a former home furnishings merchant who famously purchased Santa Claus bath mats and hand towels,
that's right.
Which item is an absolute must for the Kanye home furnishings collection?
That's a great question, Ann. Whenever I think about this stuff, I always think back to like I think about this a lot. Honestly, I do. I think about this a lot. Like,
you need a hobby.
I think back to like 2000-ish, 2005-ish.
Yeah.
Remember when like velour jumpsuits were the craze?
Oh yeah, sure.
So whenever I think of these, and Jennifer Lopez was wearing them all the time. I think.
The juicy jumpsuits. Yeah.
So I always think of, whenever I hear these celebrity partnerships, that's what I think about. So for home furnishings, for me, it comes down to one thing. Careful, ladies. A velvet blanket. That's what I want. I want a velvet blanket. Like one of those you used to get at the old school, like Motel 6. Kanye's velvet blanket. That would be so bomb. I would love it. If he did that, I would die.
Well, Kanye, listen, he's a former buyer, so that might be what your market is.
That would explode. He'd blow out of that. All right, Ann. A new health intelligence. You mentioned this actually on the podcast, but so you're ready for it. A new health intelligence kit is coming to Nordstrom stores that offers insights into an individual's immune system and gut health through blood and stool samples. Your take?
Fail.
Fail.
No. This does not make any sense.
I don't.
How is this an adjacent business you want to get into?
I don't know.
And especially with all the news lately that's coming out from, oh my gosh.
Can you imagine the returns of that?
Oh my God.
I don't know where to take this sample, Nordstrom.
Oh my God.
Well, we're specialized in service. We're here to help you. Right? They always go above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. That's a nightmare.
No. Yeah. I was saying, like, with all the returns of these blood tests, I can't remember the name now of the woman who's like potentially going to jail. The CEO
Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if like people are just sending poop into Nordstrom and it's, telling you incorrect things about the state of your biome and gut health?
I can't, but that is a good plug for our recent podcast with Signify, where people are actually putting, which they literally, Bennett from Signify literally told us people are putting poop in a box and shipping it back to get credit for the return. Yeah, poop in a box. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. Chris, Yum Brands and Eatsa both announced forays and investments into robotic meal prep this week. What, in your opinion, is the first food that should be made entirely by robots?
Pizza, 100%.
Oh God, I gotta agree. That's a great answer.
And 1-800-Flowers for the first time surpassed $2 billion in sales this past year. So, Ann, when Mr. OmniTalk is dialing up 1-800-Flowers, are you getting roses or tulips?
I'm getting pizza. I would rather get a pizza than flowers. Just FYI.
Would you? All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a flower person.
All right. Yeah.
So,
no, I didn't think you were a flower person,
I'd rather have like my favorite pizza from Hello Pizza delivered to me unexpectedly at work.
But if somebody, right, that would be awesome. Hint, Mr. OmniTalk. But if someone were to give you a flower, what flower type would you want? Like, are you a carnation?
No, hydrangea.
Hydrangea.
That's my favorite flower.
All right, cool. All right,
if I have to pick one, which is usually on a bush outside that doesn't get cut in.
Right. Isn't that a bush versus? Yeah. So you like a flower bush.
I like a flower. I like a good bush. Yeah.
Oh my God. We've lost the show. Everyone, we've lost the show. Earth to show. All right. Whew. Happy birthday today let's get us out of here, Ann. Happy birthday today to Adam Sandler, Tom Wopat, Luke Duke, for those that are in the know, Michelle Williams, and the boy who played Elliot E.T. in E.T., Henry Thomas, who, believe it or not, turns 50 goddamn years old today.
What?
God darn it, I feel old. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us and just for you, all within the preview pane of your inbox. Sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And of course, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast Five is brought to you with the help and support of the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery by empowering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyper-local scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com.